making the room smaller and smaller until its lips kisses your knees. I don't know why this is so unsettling and disturbing, but it is.
So I started looking into it, and I read about how Ted Bundy also had a very specific and surprising way that he would choose his victim. They would also see a tall, dark shadow figure standing at the doorway, just staring at them while they slept. But that wasn't even the worst part. They actually had a doll that had become...
But the two passengers didn't follow flight plans, so no one knew what their route was, which made finding the crash site very difficult. But 3 years later, some cyber sleuths used Google Earth to find out the direction the plane was headed and eventually found the location of the lost plane crash.
They felt that this had to be a lead, as the address and phone number given led to a specific town. But when they got there and asked around, they found that nobody in the town had ever even seen this woman. So what was the connection there?
I'm back, it's your boy FITTIE to the E, and today we're taking a look at this compilation together. So if you guys like this video, remember to get to 500 likes this video. If you like the chain, check the link down in the description. If you use FIT10 and send it to the little chat box icon on the right of the website and show that you're subscribed to me, you can get a 10% discount.
A miracle. Lourdes, France has a reputation for miracles. The small town drew international attention when in 1858, a young girl named Bernadette claimed to see a vision of Mother Mary. Since then, Lourdes has been a destination for those seeking healing. And Jean-Pierre Belly was one of those people. Years before, Jean-Pierre had been diagnosed with MS and was confined to a wheelchair. So in 1987, he traveled to Lourdes. There, Jean-Pierre received the sacrament of the sick, and the next day, during Mass in the Rosary Square, Jean-Pierre felt something strange, something completely supernatural. He said, "I had the impression that everything was turning around me. In a fraction of a second, I lost all sense of time and space. God was coming to cure my heart." A powerful feeling of liberation and peace that he had never experienced before. After that, Jean-Pierre began to feel tingling in his legs. And a few days later, he took his first unaided steps. These were the first steps he had taken in years. Subsequent examinations would show the seemingly impossible happened. There were now only mere minor traces of the illness that had once dominated his life, and Jean-Pierre regained the complete use of his physical faculties. Though still a medical mystery, Jean-Pierre's cure was deemed an official miracle by the Vatican in 2002. But those with faith know it isn't a mystery at all. It's God. God is so good. What are your thoughts on this amazing story?
I'm not gonna lie, that was an amazing story. That was a very, very good story. It's crazy how someone can go from being disabled just to being abled. Like, what?
These are a list of facts having to do with spirits. Number 1, did you know that spirits absolutely love the smell of lemon? So if you wanted to have a night in with a spirit, make sure you have some lemon flowing, light up a candle or whatnot. I mean, to each their own, but apparently they go crazy for it. Number 2, shadow people. The reason why shadow people take the form of a dark shadow is because it takes less energy for them to take that form. You're also more likely to see them at night because at night there is less electronic disturbances. Spirits absolutely do not like cell phones or any type of electronic devices because it drains their energy. Number 3, pets and children are extremely susceptible to being able to see spirits. For the most part, a child will outgrow it, but your pets won't. And fun little fact, cats actually ward off evil. I think we're at number 4, spirits never sleep. There's no rest for the dead. That is a true saying. They can also read your mind and tell the future. A lot of times they will try to communicate with you through your dreams. Number 5, a spirit cannot harm you or unalive you in any way. They can cause a lot of disturbances in your life or make your life difficult, but they cannot physically hurt you. D words can though. And number 6, I actually have way more facts having to do with just spirits. So if you guys want me to do a part 2, just let me know. Did you know that churches are actually way more haunted than any cemetery?
Okay, churches being haunted more than cemeteries is a little bit sus. I wonder why. Mostly when church is supposed to be like a holy place where there's a lot of blessings and stuff. Why would it be haunted? If anything, shouldn't it be blessed with amazing spirits? Nah, I don't know. I was just thinking about that. I just had to laugh about it. I was like, yo, stop the cap. Stop the cap.
This is proof that we aren't alone. This video I'm about to show you might be the best UFO video ever captured. And if you don't believe in aliens, this video will definitely make you believe in them.
Alright, I don't know what they got going on in China, but that was very weird, I'm not gonna lie. Like, that's gotta be an alien, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm looking at it like, there's no way that's just an airplane.
My sister and I were young. We lived in a charming old farmhouse. We loved exploring every corner, climbing the apple tree out back, but our favorite part was the ghost. We used to call her Mother, mainly because of her sweet, nurturing ways. Every morning, my sister and I would wake up to a glass cup next to our nightstand. We saw this as a sign of love, knowing that Mother was just worried about us and didn't want us to go thirsty during the night. There was an old antique wooden chair that had been left behind that we just kept pushed towards the wall. Anytime my sister and I would be watching TV, we would notice that the chair would slowly move towards us, like inch by inch. A lot of times the chair would end up right in the center of the room. We always felt bad having to push the chair back towards the wall because we saw this as Mother's way of wanting to spend time with us. Years later, long after we had moved out, I found an old newspaper clipping talking about the farmhouse's original owners. As it turns out, Mother was a widow that had unalived both of her kids. She unalived both of her children by giving them each a cup of poisoned milk. And as for the antique chair that would just randomly move by itself and somehow always end up in the center of the room, she had used this chair to climb on top and from the ceiling. I actually found photos of the original unaliving, and I saw her from the ceiling with this chair knocked over, sitting right in the center of the room where she would always move it to.
Have you ever wondered how offenders choose their victims? I started thinking about this because I've been watching the Jared Fogle documentary, and in it he specifically explains how he targeted kids that came from turbulent homes, or kids that he knew he could gain their parents' trust. So I started looking into it, and I read about how Ted Bundy also had a very specific and surprising way that he would choose his victims. Sure, he wanted college-age brunettes, but he would also pick out victims based on the way that they walked. He said that he could tell a victim by the way she walked down the street, the tilt of her head, and the manner in which she carried herself. And it turns out that that is a thing. There is a way people can walk that makes them look like easy targets. And this is specifically for stranger attacks. So this is when a stranger picks you out of a crowd and is like, that is my target. This also applies to everyone. It's not just female victims. But the study says that when shown videos of different people walking, criminals would pick out the people who had uneven walking patterns. These tend to be people who look less coordinated while they're walking. But when people improved their coordination while walking, basically looking more confident while walking, they were looked at as less of a target. So head up, just look like you're going to a meeting wherever you go.
Bizarre mysteries and crimes that were solved by using Google Earth. In 2006, a small plane carrying 2 passengers went missing over the skies of Arizona. But the 2 passengers didn't follow a flight plan, so no one knew what their route was, which made finding the crash site very difficult. But 3 years later, some cyber sleuths used Google Earth to find out the direction the plane was headed and eventually found the location of the lost plane crash. When David and his family weren't home, thieves stole their new camping trailer which was sitting in their driveway. There were no suspects in the case until a year later when David's 11-year-old son looked up their house on Google Earth. It had captured the criminal on their driveway moments before the crime took place. The police would use this photo to find and arrest the suspect.
One of the most baffling unsolved cases ever, this is the mystery of room 2805. Police find that the woman found in that hotel room, Jennifer Fairgate, doesn't exist. They got no hits on her fingerprints found in the room either. So investigators traveled back to the Belgian address that she gave at check-in. They felt that this had to be a lead, as the address and phone number given led to a specific town. But when they got there and asked around, they found that nobody in the town had ever even seen this woman. So what was the connection there? And it gets even stranger. Newspapers publicized this case repeatedly. Sketch photos of the mystery woman have circulated for decades in several countries. But no one has ever identified her. And this all transpired in 1995. No leads. Everywhere they turned was a dead end. But there was one question that a front desk associate had that could break the entire case wide open. According to her, she said the mystery woman wasn't alone at check-in that evening. She was with a man, one Louis Fairgate. She even named him on their registration paperwork. The plot thickens. So who is Louis Fairgate? But the bizarre thing is, no one ever saw this man again, and there was no trace of him in the hotel room. Only room service was ordered for one person, only her prints found at the scene. and police looked into Louis Fairgate to find that he doesn't exist either. So who was this man and where did he go? And he has never been identified either in decades. Did Louis Fairgate slip out the door that day with all her belongings? And what happened in that hotel room? Investigators say that whoever this woman was did a really great job at concealing her identity and say that this investigation has been like trying to track a ghost. I say that someone made her untraceable. And the question remains, who were these people? Were they on the run or undercover? This case is mind-bending. What are your thoughts?
I'm like recapping on all of this drama going on TikTok with Benefit Cosmetics and this girl, Slay by Jess. Let me recap real quick. So it's this brand, it's a makeup brand called Benefit Cosmetics. Allegedly, this involves this influencer, Slay by Jess, and all of it has to do with this girl. So basically, this girl got sent a video, I think from her sister or her friend, and they were like, you have to look at this video from Benefit Cosmetics. It was this video allegedly on the official Benefit Cosmetics page featuring this girl, this is Slay by Jess, pointing to this old picture of the other girl, and she's like, look at this girl's eyebrows, they're so far apart, I can help you with this with makeup. It's a pretty shady thing, and it's definitely wrong to use an old picture of this girl, but that's not the weird part about this. This picture is a private photo of hers. It has never been on the internet, apparently. It's from like 2019, and it's like from a private gallery on her phone. How did Benefit Cosmetics and this girl get this picture, and why are they using it?
Yeah, that is strange. That's like me putting a picture that I sent to like the homies and somehow some random on the internet has it.
I think we may have actually captured a photo of La Llorona. But quick little backstory before I show you guys the photo. This story was submitted by Vivian. I went ahead and tagged her. One night, Vivian's husband and her cousin were up late playing with the Xbox. Vivian's husband was at home with her and her cousin was at his house. They were both just sitting there talking through the mic when they both decided to go outside and smoke a cigarette. At which point, Vivian's husband decided to call her cousin through FaceTime. So as they're out there smoking a cigarette, just talking back and forth, Vivian's cousin notices that his cat is acting weird. His whole body's like hunched over. I'll show you guys a picture, and the hairs in the back of his neck are like standing up. He figures that probably a dog got into his yard, so he decided to walk down towards the driveway to see if he could see anything. But of course, he couldn't see anything. At which point, he heard a woman scream. His first instinct was to drop to the ground right on his stomach and start crawling towards his house. I mean, he was terrified. The crazy part about the whole thing was that Vivian's husband, who was on FaceTime with him, did not hear the scream. Once her cousin got back to the porch, he told her husband what happened and decided to flip the camera in the direction that the scream came from. Her husband, of course, could not see anything, but decided to take a screenshot of the scream. This is when they finally saw what her cousin had heard. Now I'm going to show you guys the first initial photo she sent me, and then I'll show you guys the lightened version. Now this is the first one she sent me. You can see there the silhouette of something standing there. Now this is the more lightened version where you can really start to make out something just there. Now here's when I started to get really creeped out. I mean, this is a legit woman standing there with a veil on her head, screaming in the middle of the night. And here's another close-up. I mean, you can clearly make out a face beneath the veil. What do you guys think?
At first I'm looking at it like, okay, it's nothing, and then she just did whatever she did, the exposure, brightness, whatever. I'm just like, yo, what is that?
I'm scrolling because this is one of Earth's scariest places, part 60. This one's super spooky. This is Hotel del Salto, located in the Tequendama Falls, right outside of Bogota, Colombia. It is one of the most haunted places in South America. This once stunning luxury hotel is now completely abandoned. Here's a little backstory. In 1923, this luxury hotel was built on a stunning waterfall with beautiful views and was meant for rich travelers. But over time, the nearby waterfall and lake became contaminated and ugly. This led to the decline of the popularity of the hotel, and eventually in 1990, it closed its doors. And the inside is completely abandoned. Everything in there is the exact way it was when it closed its doors. On top of that, there are multiple reports of suicide within its walls. According to local legend, a newlywed couple was staying there in the early 20th century, and the wife jumped off the balcony and into the waterfall. Ghost has roamed the halls for decades, and now that it's completely abandoned, it's even creepier. It's closed off to the public now, but people who have snuck in have reported seeing a ghost in a wedding dress. That's why you should.
Let's talk about this dead woman that solved her own murder. Her name was Teresita Bassa. In 1977, she was murdered and her jewelry was stolen. There were no suspects and the case was about to go cold. That was until Teresita's co-worker, Remy Chua, started getting visions of her. Remy said that Teresita was coming to her in these visions, and so she decided to contact her. Remy contacted her from the dead and in the end told the whole story of how she was murdered. She said it was done by a man named Alan Showery. Police went to go investigate and he confessed. So Teresita's spirit solved her case.
Yeah, nah, that'll be me, honestly. If I get hurt or something happened to me, I'm coming back from the grave like, yo,
Nah, he did it, man. It was him.
best believe I'm not going down like that.
This bathroom is straight out of a nightmare. This is by far the scariest bathroom in the world, and the real question is, would you use it? Okay, so this bathroom is located in a bar in Japan. And inside this haunting bathroom is a huge head looking at you while you're sitting on the toilet going to the bathroom. The face is then activated by the pressure of the seat, which it would then start singing a drunken song in the creepiest voice you've ever heard as it moves slowly closer to you, making the room smaller and smaller until its lips kisses your knees. I don't know why this is so unsettling and disturbing, but it is. There's just something about sitting on the bathroom and staring directly into this giant face as it's singing and moving closer to you, trying to kiss your knees. So only one question remains. Will you go to the bathroom in this bathroom? My answer is 100% no, because I probably won't even be able to go. And if I had to use the bathroom, I would just shut the lights off so I didn't have to look at it. Why is this a thing, and who came up with this to put this in a bathroom?
Yeah, I don't know what type of substances that person was taking that came up with that idea. It's like, just imagine you're out with your friends one night, you know what I'm saying, you had too much to drink, your stomach is starting to bubble, you're like, oh my god, I need to go to the bathroom, like I have no other choice. You go to the bathroom and you just hear this man starts singing songs and kiss your knee. Get out of here, bro. I'm not doing that.
Failed Doomsday Theories, Part 17, The Great Disappointment, which is also what my parents call me. Just kidding, but let's get into the video. And this man right here is William Miller. William Miller is a Baptist preacher who predicted that the rapture, the end of the world, the end of humanity as we knew it, would come between March 1843 and March 1844. He based his theories on extensive but misinterpreted studies of the Bible. He published so much about this theory that the media caught on, which caused his following to grow. His followers ended up calling themselves Millerites. But the year came and nothing happened. William Miller was wrong, and when they called him out, he pushed the day back again and again. Eventually, his followers caught on that he was lying. They were extremely disappointed and ended up shunning him from the religious community. You are not gonna believe this.
Hearing about the McDonald's Massacre? This took place back in July of 1984 in San Diego, California. Quick little rundown, this person, I won't even say his name because who cares, walked into a McDonald's and in a span of 77 minutes unalived 21 people. Most of them being children, the youngest being 4 months old. According to reports, before he left his home, he told his wife that he was going to go out and hunt humans. Now to get to my story time. This story was submitted by Zaina. I went ahead and tagged her down below. So when Zaina was younger, her and her family moved into an apartment located in San Diego, California. She later found out that it was actually the apartment that this person used to live in. She says that you could actually see the McDonald's right from her bedroom window because it was right down the road. So not long after moving into that apartment, Zaina says that her little brother would wake up in the middle of the night screaming at the top of his lungs without having any memory of it the next day. They would also see a tall, dark shadow figure standing at the doorway just staring at them while they slept. But that wasn't even the worst part. They actually had a doll that had become possessed by whatever was in this apartment. She said that she had a doll that looked like your average doll with the plastic mouth shut. One night she woke up to that doll standing there just smiling at her. At one point the doll even stuck his thumb in its mouth. Somehow Zaina gathered up the courage and ran to her mom's room screaming for help. The very next day, she gathered all of her dolls, gathered them in trash bags, and put them away. After she did this, her little brother told her that he was relieved because he had seen the doll smiling as well. The only difference was that the doll had teeth when it smiled at him. They also had several other unexplained events happening at that apartment. Everything stopped once they eventually moved out. But Zaina believes that the dark entity that was in this home was the gunman. My belief is that this dark entity is the reason why this person committed such a heinous act.
Or he could have just been mentally ill. Oh wow.
So
Who turned the light on? A man wrote, I used to work doing maintenance at historic properties, and there was one historic home I worked at when it wasn't open to the public. It was a part of a landmark site, so there was a visitor center with offices, and sometimes I worked with a crew, but there were a lot of times I just worked alone. One day I was working by myself to replace some electrical work on the exterior of the house. I went inside, turned off the circuit to the entire property, and tested it. It was off. I locked the doors, went outside to work. After about an hour, I got down from my ladder and started walking around the house when one of the lights inside the home turned on. I started to freak out, but thought maybe someone was playing a joke on me, so I called the visitor center and they confirmed that there was no one else at the house besides me and that all the keys to the house were present and accounted for. But I was freaked out and ran to get a coworker and made him come back with me to check out what was going on. But when we got to the house, the light was off again, but the bulb was still warm. All of the doors were locked and the circuit was still off. It still gives me shivers to this day. You're not kidding, we have shivers too. Ever experienced anything electronically supernatural like that?
Is it? And if I get another false allegation and you do nothing, I'm shocked. I'm appalled at you. I sit here day after day with this false allegation just machine. I gave the state everything. There's been no disconstruction. There's been no purposeful, I don't care. I don't care. I give over everything. I've done this for 33 years. Never in my life have I seen a trial. I've done 300 appeals in the state of Georgia alone. I've never read a case like this. Judge, I gave them everything I had. I waited, I was at my office till 8, after 8 last night. I waited for their investigator to come by. I handed him an exact copy of thumb drive. They have everything that we got from the Fayette County Jail. There's been no deconstruction. There's been no purposeful exclusion. This is not the first time. Okay. And I apologize that I'm getting tempered, but I've never been treated like this. You talk about professionalism every week. Professionalism is lacking with one lawyer here. It has never been. I don't even like coming to court. I used to love this. I would die for what we do. I used to say, I'm dying. I would die. I couldn't choose a better profession. If I had litigated with Miss Love, I would.
Your Honor, could we strike the ad hominem attack?
No, I'm speaking.
Really, could we strike that?
Okay, hey, everybody, calm down. Everybody, both of you, please be seated.
Judge, I'm not
both
done.
of you, please be seated.
You have to do something. You have threatened me with contempt. You have threatened me with jail. If you go back in time, we can just start in voir dire. Jury after jury, you did individual voir dire painfully. Miss Love would come in and say that juror was crying. It was not true. You would say, that's not my recollection after I said it. You did nothing. We start the case.
But Mr. Steele.
I asked you, please.
Mr. Steele.
Please, Judge, how would you feel if you were being treated
Mr.
like
Steele.
this?
Mr. Steele.
Well, I'd like to finish.
Mr. Steele.
Yeah, it's getting really heated over there in that YSL case. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of people thinking that Young Thug is gonna get found guilty, but they might appeal it and he might get let out. But I don't know, man. It's a little bit tricky, but we'll see what happens. I just found it funny that the lawyer has a lot of things to say about this case. Like, I don't know. The case has been really messy. I'm not gonna lie. If you guys like Young Thug or ever listen to any of his music, put it down in the comments. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you guys like this video, remember, let's just get to 500 likes. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. See y'all in the next one.